trustees. The first item on our agenda is the invocation and pledge of allegiance, and for that I'll turn it over to the Vice Chair. Mr. King.
Mr. Chair, it's my pleasure to introduce two students tonight from Airport High School. We have Madison Frierson, who will be leading the invocation. Madison is a senior at Airport where she has a GPA of 4.904 and is 14th in her class. She has participated in student council for 4 years, serving as class president last year and as student body officer this year. She is a member of the Beta Club, where she serves as their historian, and she is the secretary of the National Honor Society. Madison has been on the swim team for 4 years and served as the team's captain in the last 2 seasons. She takes early college classes through Midlands Tech and will graduate with honors from both Airport High School and Midlands Technical College. She also serves as a student ambassador for Midlands Tech. Madison plans on attending Clemson University in the fall and majoring in environmental engineering. We also have Jackson Aaron. He'll be leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Jackson is a senior at Airport where he has a GPA of 4.762 and is 19th in his class. He has taken orchestra for 4 years and played violin, bass, and guitar. Jackson is a member of the Beta Club, the B-27 Honor Roll. He has been on the wrestling team for 4 years and served as captain this year. He won several honors while wrestling at Airport, including the team's academic winner for the past 3 seasons. He was a state qualifier where he finished up 5th in the state this year. His junior and senior years, he was a regional winner for the 138-pound weight class. And Jackson is Airport Student of the Month for the month of March. After graduation, he plans to attend Coker University, where he will wrestle and pursue a degree in biology. He then plans to attend graduate school and obtain a doctorate in physical therapy. Welcome both of y'all.
Dear Heavenly Father, grant our teachers an abundance of your wisdom. Give them grace to help our students to thrive. We have gratitude as you help us to shape the future. Please continue to be with the school board, our teachers, and administrators in every way for the rest of the school year. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all very much. Next on our agenda is consent agenda. Without objection, the consent agenda will stand approved. Next up is public participation period. We have no one signed up for that. So next is report on honors and accomplishments of students and staff. Dr. James.
Yes, sir. I'd like to introduce Janet Rennan. Janet will make some introductions. She, as the board knows, Janet has spent every year since I've been here working really hard throughout the district to make us a good partner with the United Way. We've got some schools that have some awards. Tonight we've got Kristen Markle and Melissa Dunn with us. So Janet, if you will come forward and introduce them.
Well, as you said, we have Christian Markle with United Way, and Melissa Dunn is the Director of Education and Initiatives. And we're going to go ahead and start with our presentation tonight. Thank you. We're going to try to ask people to come over this way. We're going to take a picture if y'all don't mind of the presentation.
Superintendent James, Chairman Bingham, and members of the board, thank you for having me this evening. I could not be more pleased to announce that this year, 357 Lexington 2 employees contributed over $15,600 to United Way of the Midlands, with 9 schools or departments having an increase in giving or participation over last year. Thank you, Superintendent James, and the administration for their support, and special thanks to Janet Rennan, I hope I pronounced your name correctly, Executive Support Specialist, for your leadership for overseeing the district campaign. We are so proud to partner with your district in building a better future for our community. With your support, United Way of the Midlands can continue to determine and respond to critical human service needs of the community as we focus on health access for the uninsured and underinsured, financial stability and emergency services for those in crisis, and educational success for every student in the Midlands. Just last year, we were able to invest over $100,000 directly into the students of Lexington 2 and over $500,000 in programs and initiatives that directly impacted the individuals and families in Lexington County. Right now, 131 students across Riverbank, Casey, and Congaree Wood Elementary Schools are receiving one-to-one tutoring through our Midlands Reading Consortium, which is a United Way initiative. Last summer, 230 Lexington 2 students who were striving readers attended the summer camp mandated by Read to Succeed legislation. United Way was able to contribute $7,500 to invest in initiatives for attendance and to encourage a love of reading. 99% of those students were able to move up to their grade level without being retained. 104 Lexington 2 students in low-income families had their dental needs met at our Well Partners Children's Dental Clinic, which is a free dental clinic. This is just a small piece of the wonderful work that is going into Lexington 2 community. My hope is that these examples show you how much we love our neighbors in Lexington 2. I actually live in Lexington 2, so I'm really a neighbor of Lexington 2. And how thankful we are for your choice to invest in our work of lifting up the individuals, students, teachers, and families that need us most. We would also like to thank each and every Lexington 2 employee for what you do for our community and for such a successful year in supporting United Way of the Midlands. I would now like to recognize all of the top schools and departments for their contributions, and also those who are new or accomplished, 100% employee participation in campaigns. So representatives, when you're called upon, if you would remain for a group photo, we would greatly appreciate it. So I'm going to start with the school that had 100% participation, which is amazing. You're the only school that we have in the 8 districts that we serve that had 100% participation. So I really want to give a shout out. North Side Middle, please come up for a picture.
Everybody?
Well, if you're
Okay, I'll get a picture. All of them.
This is truly amazing. So Northside Middle School will also be receiving our United Way Trailblazer Award for increasing campaign contributions by 10% over last year. So not only did they have 100% participation, they also increased their campaign by 10%. And this is led by, I assume, Principal Mary Page Dom, I'm sorry.
But it's okay. But actually, Miss Mason spearheaded this for our schools, so
Christine
she
Mason.
truly gets all the glory.
Thank you so much. And then for the Premier Award for new campaigns that raised over $1,000, Lexington 2 Community Education Center, led and coordinated by Program Director Christy Henderson. And then top campaigns by category. A big thank you to Total Comfort Solutions for being the 2018 Lexington 2 award sponsor as in the past years. We are so grateful for you and for your care for the Lexington 2 community. So, Best Elementary School, Riverbank Elementary School, raising $790. Thank you. And a campaign coordinator, Amanda Pierce.
Amanda's not here.
And I'd like to thank Riverbank. Not only is it their first year opening, and most can bring their own challenges, but they also ran a United Ways campaign, so thank you for that. And then, we have to give a shout out again to the best middle school, Northside Middle School, again for raising. Thank you, Ms. And then Best High School, Airport High School for raising $1,413, led by Principal David. And then the best department, Lexington 2 District Education Center for raising $4,582. The District Education Center also achieved a bronze per capita award for employee per capita giving between $50 and $99. And that was led by Superintendent Bill James and campaign coordinator Janet. I'm not even going to try to. But we would love to get a picture of the two of you, if you would, and Christian, if you don't mind.
She did the work, I just showed it. Thank you.
Thank you to the Board of Directors for your leadership. The district wouldn't be as supported as they were without you. And thank you to all the educators and all the administrators for making your district what it is. I recently visited your Innovation Center, and I was just sharing with the two ladies up front, I have not seen anything like that in the 8 other districts that we serve. So kudos to you, and kudos to all of the educators for all of the work that you do and are never appreciated enough for the impact you have to leave a footprint in our community that will last forever.
Mr. Bingham, we have with us also Christy Henderson, our Director of Adult Education, and also we have from the State Department of Education, Mary Generette. As has become the norm, Christy and her staff have won numerous awards again. So, Christy, you come up.
This is Ms. Generette in the State Department of Education's Office of Adult Education, and she does have a special award to present you all tonight, so I'm going to let her take over.
Thank you, Christy. Good evening. On behalf of Superintendent Molly Spearman and Mike King, Director, Office of Adult Education, Chairman Bingham, Superintendent James, I would like to present to Christy Henderson and her staff the Facility Enhancement Award. Now, this is a special award because it's given to the school district, and it's my extreme pleasure to do this, that has put adult education at the forefront. This award is presented to districts who have prioritized adult education. You've looked at the environment, and through development or renovation of a building, you've made substantial improvements. So I'm very happy to present to you the Facility Enhancement Award.
You already have one. Thank you so very much for what you do. You have given us a tremendous adult ed program, and the board has been most grateful of that, and hopefully your facility will continue to do that. Thank you very much. I think that's all we have, Mr. Bingham, other than what's listed in your packet.
All right, next is unfinished business. We don't have any, so we move to new business. And the first item on the agenda is the Midlands Fatherhood Coalition Program Overview.
Yes, sir. We have Mr. Darrell Boyles with us, who would like to explain the program to the board.
Well, actually, good evening, board. My name is Dr. Jermaine Johnson. This is Mr. Darrell Boyles here. So I'm the site director for the Midlands Fatherhood Coalition, and I wanted to give you all just kind of an overview of what we do at the Fatherhood Coalition and how we would like to increase our work with you all with the school board. So what we do is we assist non-custodial parents, mainly we focus on the fathers, increasing their lives and the lives of their children. So if they have any children, if they have any that are living with a mother or anything like that, we want to increase their activity with father-child activities, getting involved with them, coming up to the schools, accessing records and doing all that things, just to play a bigger role in their lives. A lot of times these fathers, they have kind of been pushed to the side, or you don't see any services for men out there. The biggest service that's out there for men is SCDC. So you don't see any things like this. So they kind of criminalize poverty with these individuals who maybe have lost their jobs, fallen on hard times, or something like that. So we have 4 components of the Fatherhood Coalition. We have a parenting component where we teach some of these dads how to be better dads. Some of these men have never had a parent, so they don't know how to be one. We have a healthy relationship, so we teach them about how to, effectively co-parent, but also how to have a relationship with themselves. We also teach them economic stability. If they haven't had a job in a while, how they know how to budget. We also do men's health because some of us men, we have so much, we're so strong, got so much pride, we might have to cut our arm off before we go to the hospital. All right, so we teach them about men's health. We have a nurse practitioner that comes in and gives texture, blood pressure, and helps them out and makes prescriptions that they need to. We also have a job boot camp. The employability job boot camp is 5 full days. We teach them everything about obtaining and keeping employment. And we also have companies that will come in on that Friday that will give them interviews and they actually will hire them on the spot. So we actually just added a component for young parents. Now we've been doing this for a while in Richland County, but we also just expanded it here to Lexington County, which is why we're here to talk to you all this evening. So as I took over the site manager position for the Lexington office, this entire fiscal year for us is our emphasis is relationships. So it's a shame that we've been in Lexington County since the 90s, and I'm probably sure that this is the first time some of y'all have ever seen me or seen us or heard about what we do. So with the young parenting component that we have, the person who's actually over that is Mr. Darrell Boyles, and he's going to tell you a little bit about that.
All right, so we have a grant from the federal government that was given to us, and what we do is we help young parents, young dads, how to manage healthy co-parenting relationships, how to manage the child support system that they could probably become a part of, and also how to deal with the mother in a healthy environment or a healthy way. And that was ages 15 to 24. So what we're looking to do is get contacts with some of you all school social workers and get contacts with these young potential fathers early so they can be a part of the child's life early on instead of playing catch up.
And I just realized, how you doing, Ms. Brown?
Good to see you.
Yeah. So we've been doing this since the late 90s. We get a lot of our money from the Sisters of Charity. So they have assisted us with a lot of these efforts here just to really bring it back home for fathers, because you don't see a lot of emphasis for dads out there. So if y'all know anybody, if y'all have any type of young parents that are coming to your all schools, because a lot of the young individuals, we made some mistakes when we were young, but it doesn't mean that they need to continue down the wrong path. There's somebody there for them, and we will assist them with anything that we need to assist them with. Any questions?
I'd just like to tell the board that I have had the opportunity through my job to work with the Fatherhood Coalition, and these gentlemen do an amazing job. As y'all know, We need more fathers involved with their kids and in their kids' lives, and so anything that we can do to support their work, I think is going to be beneficial. So I thank y'all for coming, and thank you for the work you do.
Thank you so much.
I have a question. So what you were saying, if you knew of anyone, how, we'll get the information as far as contact information, et cetera, but how are you getting like your name out in and around the community?
So we have marketing individuals. They don't do a very good job. I don't think so. But that's why I made it my emphasis just to get out there and address individuals like yourself. Come to everybody's board. I've been all over the place. I've been up and down to Batesburg, Leesville. I had gotten some cheetahs while I was down there. I've been all to upwards of Fairfield when I was doing the job development stuff. So I've been kind of the mouthpiece for a lot of us with the Fatherhood Coalition. But it's always better when you have word of mouth, when individuals can come in and see exactly what we're doing. Because we get people who are walking off the street who say they just want to know what we did, and they come in and they say, wow, this is some amazing work. Because we have peer group sessions as well on Tuesdays and Thursdays. It's just for the guys to come together and really just share their emotions, share their things, because the worst thing we were taught, us men, was that we can only show two emotions, and that's anger and that's happiness. All right, so we can't share anything in between. So that's what we're assisting men to know how to do, to learn how to just share their emotions, to let their feelings out, to get them to understand that, there's more people out there to support them than just themselves.
So you have a point of contact with the district?
No, and that's what we need. We would like to get in contact with the guidance counselors or anybody that's kind of needs some support from you all schools.
Okay. I mean, I'm just hoping, I would imagine that we would want to.
If you'll turn around, that lady sitting right there in that gray jacket will take your card and that'll be your point of contact.
Perfect. Well, we have some brochures that we'd like to give you all, just so you all can browse through, and some business cards and all that. So if you guys get any other questions or anything like that, anything comes up, feel free to contact us. Feel free to say whatever it is that you need to say, and feel free if y'all just want to come by and just check us out, please do. Okay.
Thank you for coming out.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Next up on our agenda is and I assume Dr. James, you don't need action for that.
Typically, the board has voted on it, but what we can do is...
No, not the calendar.
No.
On what they just...
No, we don't need any action on that. No, sir, I'll move on to the next.
Okay. Next up is consideration of 1920 calendar proposal.
Sorry, Mr. Boone, Ms. Wolf, Italian,
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve calendar A, as it was and I always like to put this on the record, it was the most voted on calendar by the faculties and staff by far, and I think that we always like to send that message out when y'all get mad about certain days being off and not being off, that we always pick the one y'all pick and vote the most for, so I make that motion. You want first and second?
Yes, ma'am, I'd like to get it published.
First and second reading. My motion.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to waive board policy for first and second reading to approve calendar proposal A as presented. Any discussion? Being none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right. Next on our agenda is consideration of request for out-of-state travel for principal of Casey Elementary School Education, for Casey Elementary School for Education Week leaders to learn from the national capital area.
Yes, sir, and you'll go on, Mr. Bingham, through the letter F is all staff travel that would be subject to board approval.
So, if it's okay, I'd probably like to take items C through F in a single motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the administration's recommendation for out-of-state personnel travel using general funds money, items C through F.
Okay, I have a motion, do I have a second? Second by Mr. Kitty, any discussion? Being none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next on our agenda is consideration of resolution to issue the annual 8% debt.
Mr. Chairman, at your table was the actual resolution that came in after your board books were distributed, but it would authorize us to issue up to $10 million in the next school year. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we accept administration's recommendation to approve the resolution as presented.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the bond resolution as presented. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Wooten. Any discussion? Being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, consideration of draft capital and project improvements fund budget.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, Dr. James, to go along with the previous motion, we have for your consideration a proposed or draft 2019-20 CPIF budget. And all we want to do is just get it in your hands for consideration. We'll ask for you to consider it officially in April.
So any questions on the
Mr. Chairman, not to delay the meeting or belabor the point at all, but if you or Mr. Eisenhower could give a 2-sentence or 3-sentence explanation of what the difference is in our CPI budget and kind of what our goal is every year, what that money's targeted towards, just for our new board members and review for our old board members.
you're talking about the
purpose of what are we doing with the CPI budget? What our plan is with the technology. I mean, I can make 2 sentences if y'all want me to, but I prefer you and Don to do it. Just, you know, what we're trying to do with it, why it's different than our normal budget.
and I think I've had this discussion with some of you, but we separate the CPIF, which is things that are for capital projects and for computers and technology, things that are expenses, and we separate it out from the general fund budget. Because when we get cuts to the general fund budget, in the past, we used to have difficulty trying to figure out how to do the things that are upkeep of the schools themselves. And so they would end up getting cutting because we didn't have enough general fund money because we were cut by the state. So as a result, we created this capital improvements project fund, and we earmark funds to go to that fund every year, and it's separate. It comes out of debt service millage, and so it cannot be used for salaries or any of that. It's only to be used for things that the board approves. And we can't take that money. There's no way to even take that money. You can't use debt service money for operating and maintenance. So that's why this budget is separate. And the way we put it in there so there was no fighting over the money is the budget for this is approved before we approve the general fund budget. That's maybe 2 sentences, but
It's pretty good though.
And I'll also say that what we've used it for is to add to the bond referendum that was passed in 2014. We tried to take advantage of the monies that were available. What we do is basically we borrow this money every year and we pay it back at the end of the year. So this is just making good use of the available funds that are out there for this district to utilize for our community. So we've tried to enhance the building program that we've been involved with since 2014. And and this is also how you pay back that bond referendum that we passed in 2014. So that comes off the top of this, and then what's left is basically what we try to put forth, try to continue to improve our facilities.
And the last half of the sentence is it also includes the three of us to replace technology and computers and stuff every year. So it's a way that we always are guaranteeing we're going to continue to replace our old computers.
So the draft is just for information. So
It's just for you to have a chance to look over it for a month, and if you have issues, please don't wait until April to call me or to bring up anything if you see an issue in it. If you'll let me know before April, we want to have it ready and finalized when we present it to you in April.
The board policy is it has to be approved in April, so when we come back, if you've got anything between now and then that you'd like to add.
Next is consideration of access control keyless entry for the Community Education Center.
Again, Mr. Chair, we presented to you last month cameras and that sort of thing. We're trying to utilize grant money that's available for the adult education program. And we'd like to ask that you approve the access control, which is all about improving the safety at that facility. And we'd like to award that contract to A3 Communications in the amount of $23,292. I apologize for my voice, but the pollen's getting me.
I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the administration's recommendation to award the contract to 3A Communications for the amount of $23,292 for the keyless entry.
We have a motion by Ms. Kessler, a second by Mr. Key. Any discussion? Being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next on the agenda is consideration of renewal of the transportation lot lease.
Yes, Mr. Chair, once again, we do not own the property where we have our buses parked out at, near the airport. That property is owned by the airport, and we enter into a lease with them each year in order for us to be able to park our buses there. Now, what we've done, it was a one-year lease. What we've done just in the last few years is we've asked them for a 3-year lease that would be renewable each year, so that if and when the airport ever decides that they're going to evict us, that this board would have hopefully two complete years to be able to obtain a location and build a transportation lot that would be suitable for our buses. So at this point in time, I'd hope to give you the finalized lease, but what we have is we have a lease that has been sent to me, and I've sent it to our board attorney, who has looked at it and read it. We've asked them to make one modification. It's been slow in coming. But the modification is that just what I just said. They've given us a 3-year lease, but the current lease waits until the last year for us to renew it. That's not what our intention was for doing the 3-year lease. So I've talked to them, and they're going to modify the lease, and they're going to give it to us basically as I've asked them to. Again, after 1 year, we ask them to renew it again, so that you will have hopefully 2 full years to replace that facility. The lease goes up 2%, the price goes up 2% every year, except for that renewal 4th year, it goes up 3%. The amount that it would be this coming year, starting September 1st, is $15,237.30. So what we would ask that you do is that you just approve for us to enter into and sign the lease with it's the Richland-Lexington Airport District.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to authorize the improvement of the lease as presented by Mr. Eisenhower.
Motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Wood. It is a matter of clarification for the board members who have not been on here as long as others, that we do lease the lot, and we've leased the lot for a very long time. We've tried to purchase the lot, and at one time we thought they may be going to sell it. However, my recollection was at that time, the airport, they needed to have so much buffer space from the end of the runway, so they couldn't really sell it to us. They have no knowledge of any intent to ever use it, so they leased it to us in a very low rate. But that's sort of why we don't own it, is because they can't sell it to us.
That's correct.
No other expenses, but, I mean, you pay the 15, but there's nothing else.
We pay the upkeep on it. I mean, it's basically, it would be a triple net lease basically, but with us not paying taxes, we don't pay taxes on it, just like they don't. But all we do basically is pay to keep it up,
But we had to pay for the payment.
which is part of keeping it up.
I don't think 15,000 for a year is really reasonable, but I hope we look into getting our own place so that we can, since we have to pay for everything out there, for fencing, for the groundwork to keep the pavement up to date and fix the repairs, it's costly for somebody else's property.
Our
We
goal,
have our own.
yes ma'am, our goal is to identify a location that would be suitable for this.
So,
And with the available funding that might be down the road, we would hope to build it on if the board feels it's economically feasible.
Any other questions? We have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next up is consideration of bidding of house removal on Delmar Street.
Yes, Mr. Chair, all we're doing here is, again, just to remind everyone, we purchased the adjoining property to the playground at Saluda River Elementary School. And all we're asking you to do is to give us the ability to put this house up for bid, hoping that we will find someone that will want to move the house and we won't have to go through the expense of tearing it down. I have talked to one of the local house movers, and they have indicated that there is value in doing this. So we're hoping that we will find someone that has a lot close that will want to purchase the house and move it, rather than, again, going through the expense of tearing it down. So all we're asking you to do is give us permission to put it up for bid, auction.
Okay, motion.
motion to approve the administration's recommendation for approval to advertise the building for the site on Delmar Street.
We have a motion, do I have a second? Second by Mr. King. Any discussion?
We're looking for someone to purchase,
Yes, sir.
so would we still not be ahead of the game if somebody offered, well, to move the house, to pay for the moving cost?
Yes, sir.
Would that be what you're looking for?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right.
We're hoping it's a win-win.
Any other questions? Being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next is consideration of data drops for the renovated areas of North Wing, Auditorium, and Art Hall classrooms at Broken Casey High School.
Yes, Mr. Chair, again, what we're trying to do is to improve the technology that's available in all of our schools. And this is an area that we've been doing some renovation, so we'd like to go in and put new data drops in these locations. So we ask that you approve or allow us to award a contract to Telcom Incorporated in the amount of $260,229.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the administration's recommendation awarding the contract to Telcom Incorporated in the amount of $260,229.
We have a motion and a second.
I'll second that.
Second by Mr. King. Any discussions? Being none, all those in favor for the award of the contract for the bed drop, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next is consideration of potential lease of ball fields at Taylor and Pine View to Lexington County Recreation and Aging Commission.
Mr. Chair, what we're dealing with here is we've had several people call wanting to find a place to practice for their Little League teams. So we had previously had discussion with Randy Gibson from the Recreation Department about whether or not they would have interest in those two facilities. And we would just like to officially enter into discussion with them to try to see if we can, if nothing else, create some areas for kids to be able to practice without us having to get into scheduling those fields.
Motion to approve the recommendation to enter negotiations with the Recreation and Aging Committee regarding the fields at Taylor and Pineview.
We have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Wood. Discussion.
Yes, sir. Are they aware that in the hopefully near future that those, there will be some demolition on those sites?
Yes, ma'am.
And it might restrict some of the area?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, what about the contract to maintain the condition of those fields?
Those are all things that we would discuss with them. You know, obviously at this point in time, we're mowing everything on all of those fields. And, you know, we've added quite a bit of mowing to our maintenance department without adding any employees. So, you know, we're looking for some relief there too. But in the event that they, you know, run into issues with it, I think our maintenance department would be willing to help them. But our goal would be to try to, again, create a win-win scenario for our community as well as our employees here in our district.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? I would like to see that as you're negotiating with them, that you also include City of Casey and City of West Columbia to see if they have interest in those areas in terms of making them into parks for the city. If we're going to leave it as an open area, give each of them the shot to do the same as well, instead of just automatically making it.
I think that what we're looking for right now is just a temporary, you know, kind of gets to another year. You've got part of it, the budget that you are going to be looking at here is to do some demolition of some of those facilities. And eventually we're going to come back in with a proposal for what we would like to see to do with those properties. But we're just looking for a temporary thing, and we'll be happy to enter into discussion with them as well for something on a temporary basis.
Okay, any other questions? Being none, we have a motion and a second, so all those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Next up is consideration of Verizon cell tower work at DEC.
Yes, Mr. Chair, and I don't know that we need to bring this to you. As you know, Verizon has a lease on the tower behind this facility. They just always ask us to sign, basically saying that we're aware of it and we'll be coming in and doing maintenance work on that tower. But we just want to make you aware, since the meeting's coming up close, before we just go out and sign and say, yes, we're okay with this. Really and truly, they have a lease on the facility, on that tower. I don't know that we could stop them unless there was an issue that they would create for us because of the lease that they have. But we just want to make you aware, really, that they want to do this work, and we're going to ask for permission to do that. And whether or not you want us to continue to bring this to you, or if you just want it to be kind of one of those business things that we handle in-house.
Do we need a motion?
Motion to approve the request to work on the cell tower and also to authorize the school district administration to continue to authorize repairs on the tower without bringing it before the board.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Yes, second.
Second by Ms. Kelsey. Any discussion? Being none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Consideration of installation of new phone system at Davis and Community Education Center.
Yes, Mr. Chair, what I did here was just combine the two. We'd be happy to break them out, give you prices on both of them, but we'd like to ask that you, again, award the contract to Telcom Incorporated in the amount of $64,612 for both of those facilities, and that's installing a new phone system for both those two facilities.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to award the contract to Telcom Communications in the amount of $64,612.
Okay, we have a motion to, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Kelsey. Any discussion? Being none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Excellent.
I make a motion to approve the out-of-state student travel.
Got a motion, do I have a second? Second by Mr. King. Any discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, administrative divisional reports. It looks like we got nothing except finance, monthly financial reports.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, Dr. James, members of the board, you have at your table updated revenue reports. We received the information on the disbursements for February a little bit late, so we wanted to make sure you had that updated information. We are still, as we have maintained, to trend like we were last year. We received to date 75% of our revenue, basically because of all the taxes that come in the last few months. Does anyone have any questions on this report? Our next report is the monthly expenditure analysis. We are at 56.83% of our expenditure so far this year. And we're actually a little bit less than we were at this time last year. Any questions? You also have in your packet the people activity fund available balances and the capital projects commitments. Everything is similar on those. There's nothing that stands out, but I think I need to bring to your attention. But if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those.
I have a question on the funding availability under the capital project
Yes,
committee.
ma'am.
That money that's down and allocated for settlement for the AHS, is that money going to be spent on developing that area that was burnt? So would that still be included in that amount?
It has been budgeted up in the top part up here. If you'll look at in the 2.2 million, it's part of that budget, so it will be funding that amount.
Okay. I just wondered why, if it was going to be spent, why would it be done here? Thank you.
Those are all our funding sources down there in the bottom. That's the total cash that we have available to fund the budgets at the top. And I did want to let you all know, Dr. James and I received a letter today, and you all may have also received it from the Office of Auditing Services from the State Department of Education. That was our risk assessment. We scored a 10, which is low risk, so that is outstanding for our district. Real excited about that. Anything less than an 18 would be low risk, so that means we're not even close to that 18 number. So it was a good letter to get, a good email.
How low can it actually go?
I guess we could go to a 0.
But we're happy with you.
But I'll take anything in the low risk category.
Most folks are excited with an 18. Marty's done a really good job. We'll take a 10.
Perfect 10, right? It says on here about a budget update. I don't know that I have any new information for you. Revenue and Fiscal Affairs has not put out the census information, so I don't even know what the millage cap would be for this year. They said that would be possibly as late as end of April, which is much later than normal. We've had heard some words out of the Senate. There's a possibility of some base student cost additions coming out in the Senate. I don't have anything concrete other than rumors that we have heard. As far as I know right now, the only thing that they are funding is the 4% and the increase to the $35,000 minimum for teachers. The step is not being funded, and no increase to base student costs in the House version of the bill.
One of the things too that the board needs to be aware of, and Marty and I talked with a lot of local folks, that keeping the money the same and not adding any new money to the budget is actually a loss of money for us, because we have to pay the portion of our supplement. We pay that 4%, and then of course there are other increased costs. So if the money coming out of the House is exactly what it was this year, we'll be at a deficit from where we were this year. So,
Well, part of that is the 2% step, or we call it 2%. It's not 2% for everybody, but it is on the lower end of the scale. So if we don't get any new money and everybody's salary on that lower end goes up 2%, then we don't have any money to pay for that.
that's exactly right.
The day of the Capitol last week, at the update that they gave, is, since there's not going to be an increase in per child, it's a decrease of $18 per child.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
the fact that it's, that is because they're saying that the money stays the same, but the state as a whole is growing in number of students. And because of the growth of students is why that's $18 less. But they're proposing to get an additional fund, and that's what they're lobbying for right now.
Well, you've got the absolute premier basis of school finance, because what the state does is put out a pot of money and bases it on an estimate of the number of weighted pupil units in the state of South Carolina. And since I've been in the superintendent's role, I've never known to estimate it correctly. So what we end up getting is along the 135th day, they say, well, there's more weighted pupil units in South Carolina than we predicted, but the money's the same. So instead of dividing the money across 100 kids, you divide it across 150 kids, so it ends up less. And then in addition, instead of having the base student cost, what we're talking about is aid classroom, and it's not really anything more than your old base student cost plus your fringe added together, so they combine two columns into one column, give it a new name, same amount of money. So no new money actually means a loss of money. You're right.
Thank you.
So that's all.
That's as much bad news as we can bear.
Without objection,
First.
without objection, the monthly financial report will stand approved as presented. And we will move to the construction update.
Once again, Mr. Chair, members of the board, Dr. James, I have included in your packet of information the construction update that we'd like to give to you first, and then we'll post online for everyone to view. After you have seen it, I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have, even though Mr. Cooper did most of it. He's not here tonight. Had some dental work that had to be done today. I think I can wing it if you have any questions.
I've got just one question. When we,
I knew you'd ask me this.
I'm so sorry, but when I read this, I was going to be straight. When we appointed Thompson Turner, the paid contractor, for $221,433,000, they go out and get a subcontractor. Can we not get a subcontractor and cut part of that?
Yes, we could, but what you do is and the whole reason for us going to CM at risk, construction management at risk, is so that we will have control over those subs and we're not held hostage to a low bidder.
Knew there would be an explanation.
Yeah, what you do is you pay a little more up front, but you control your costs and you get quality work rather than being subjected to a low bidder that's trying to make as much money as they can after the contract is signed.
Well, I'm going to talk to Mr. Thompson, Mr. Turner, and see if they can throw something free in the pot for us as much as they've gotten. Something should be free.
We like fruit and stuff.
Sometimes it also, Ms. Kessler, the CM at risk is actually going to bond the work, and the subcontractors, many of them may not have the financial wherewithal to bond the project. So they work underneath the general's bond, which is, in this case, the CM at risk. And so that's some of the service that they provide quite often in this type of an arrangement.
Mr. Chairman, I also thought, maybe I'm mistaken, I also thought that we also got them to kind of help Don manage as many projects as we had going to. So I thought that they were also kind of providing some, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm crazy, maybe I dreamed it, but I thought they were also providing like some additional support in terms of the management stuff, right?
We do that with Cumming, that's what Barry's doing.
Yeah, I knew that. Yeah. Okay, you're right. I'm not wrong people. Sorry, guys. Sorry.
Construction people also.
Okay, any other questions? All right, next on our agenda is executive session.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that the Board of Trustees enter closed session for the following: consideration of personnel appointments and resignations, consideration of property matters, consideration of contractual matters, and consideration of requests of out-of-district tuition waivers.
We have a motion to enter executive session, and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. We are now in executive session.